I wiped the sweat from my brow with the back of my hand, the metallic tang of fear mixing with the stale beer scent clinging to my skin. It was a Thursday in late July, the kind of sticky Manhattan evening where the sidewalks steamed underfoot and the skyline pulsed with a relentless neon heartbeat. I'd been at O'Malley's for maybe an hour, nursing a whiskey sour at the Scarred Oak Bar, trying to drown out the echo of another brutal performance review from Ethan Hargrove, my boss at Sterling and Associates. The man was a goddamn fortress, tall, broad-shouldered, with that chiseled face that could launch 1,000 corporate mergers or shatter them just as easily. Dark hair cropped close, a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow that made him look like he stepped out of a GQ spread for Ruthless Tycoons Monthly. But his eyes, Christ, those eyes, piercing, unreadable, like storm clouds over the Hudson. I'd been at Sterling for 2 years, clawing my way up from junior analyst to lead on the Voss account. A miracle, really, considering Ethan ran the place like a boot camp for the emotionally stunted. He was 42, divorced, some whispered scandal involving a socialite wife who preferred gallery openings to galas, and as far as the office grapevine went, married to his work. No one dared speculate about his weekends. He was the guy who emailed at 3 a.m. on Sundays, the one who made grown men in Armani suits sweat during quarterly briefings. And me? Kyle Rivera, 28, fresh off a psych degree from NYU and a string of bad hookups that left me more ghosted than gratified. I was good at numbers, better at reading people, except, apparently, him. That night, I hadn't planned on seeing him. O'Malley's was my dive, a hole-in-the-wall Irish pub in the shadow of midtown skyscrapers, where the jukebox spun Springsteen and the bartender, Mick, poured doubles without judgment. I was midway through my second drink, scrolling through Grindr notifications I had no intention of answering, when the door swung open with a groan. In stumbled Ethan Hargrove, of all people, loosening his tie like it was a noose. He didn't see me at first. He beelined for the end of the bar, shoulders hunched, muttering something under his breath that sounded like fucking merger before slamming a fist on the counter. Mick raised an eyebrow but poured without a word, a Jameson neat. Ethan's third, by my count, before he finally clocked me. His gaze locked on mine, and for a split second, the fortress cracked. Rivera, he grunted, voice gravelly from whatever demons he'd been wrestling. What the hell are you doing here? Drinking away the day, sir. I shot back, aiming for casual but landing somewhere near defiant. You? He barked a laugh, short, bitter, like it hurt coming out. Same. Voss deals circling the drain. Board wants blood. He slid onto the stool next to mine, close enough that I caught the faint cedarwood cologne mixed with sweat. The bar was half empty, a smattering of off-duty cabbies and nurses trading war stories, but suddenly it felt like the world had shrunk to this sticky stretch of wood between us. We talked, or rather, he vented, and I listened, really listened, the way I'd trained myself to in therapy sessions I'd abandoned years ago. The merger, the betrayals in the C-suite, the ex-wife who'd taken half his soul along with the brownstone. Words tumbled out of him like he'd been holding them hostage for decades. By his fifth drink, the guard was down, and Mick had cut him off with a paternal, easy Hargrove. Ethan just waved him away, turning to me with eyes glassy but sharp. You ever feel like you're drowning in plain sight, Kyle? Like everyone's watching, but no one's seeing. I swallowed hard, my own glass forgotten. Every damn day. He studied me then, really looked, past the rumpled button-down I'd worn to the office, past the faint scar on my chin from a childhood skateboarding wipeout. You're not like the others, he murmured, voice dropping low. You don't bullshit. Why's that? Because I've got nothing left to lose, I wanted to say. Because I've been out since 16, lost friends to AIDS epidemics my parents pretended weren't real, watched lovers fade into straight-laced lives with picket fences and regrets. But I didn't. Instead, I clinked my glass against his empty one. Truth's the only currency worth a damn. The jukebox clicked over to Thunder Road, and something shifted. Ethan's hand brushed mine, accidental, maybe, as he reached for a peanut from the bowl. Neither of us pulled away. Minutes blurred into an hour, stories weaving between us like smoke from the no-smoking signs ghost. He confessed the divorce had gutted him, left him questioning everything, including the man staring back from the mirror each morning. I admitted the Grindr ghosts, the parade of one-nighters that felt like echoes in an empty loft. It's like chasing shadows, I said, and he nodded, fierce understanding in his gaze. When closing time hit, the bar emptying like a receding tide, he didn't let go. Walk with me, he said, not a question. We spilled out into the night, the city alive with horns and distant sirens, steam rising from grates like exhalations from the underworld. My apartment was 3 blocks away, a cramped walk-up in Hell's Kitchen with leaky faucets and dreams deferred, but we didn't head there. Instead, we wandered, aimless, until we found ourselves on a bench in Bryant Park, the library's lions looming like silent judges. He kissed me first, or maybe it was mutual, his lips crashing into mine with the desperation of a man finally surfacing for air. Rough, urgent, tasting of whiskey and want. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, the world narrowing to the heat of his body, the scrape of stubble against my jaw. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, his breath ragged. This, I can't. You already are, I whispered, tracing the line of his jaw. And just like that, the guard shattered. We ended up at his place, a sleek penthouse overlooking the East River, all glass walls and minimalist furniture that screamed successful but soulless. He fumbled with the keycard, laughing, a real laugh, boyish and free, as the elevator hummed us upward. Inside, clothes hit the floor in a trail from foyer to bedroom. My shirt snagged on a coat rack, his belt clattering against marble. He was beautiful, unarmored, broad chest dusted with dark hair, muscles honed from gym sessions squeezed between deadlines. A tattoo on his ribcage I traced with my fingers. Coordinates, he murmured later, of the beach where he'd proposed to his ex. We made love like it was absolution. Slow at first, exploratory, his hands mapping my skin as if committing it to memory, my lips following the scars of old wounds. Then frantic, bodies slick and urgent, the city lights blurring through the windows like stars we'd stolen. He whispered my name like a prayer, vulnerabilities spilling out between gasps. The fear of being found out in a world that still whispered faggot in boardrooms, the loneliness of command. I held him after, his head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with mine, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost haunting my own life. Morning came too soon, sunlight slicing through blinds like judgment. He stirred, eyes widening in horror as reality crashed back. Kyle. Shit. This was a mistake. I finished, sitting up, sheets pooling around my waist. He dragged a hand through his hair, avoiding my gaze. The merger. The firm. If anyone finds out you're human? I pressed, anger flickering hot. He dressed in silence, the fortress rebuilding brick by brick. At the door, he paused, voice strained. Last night. It meant something. But we can't. Not like this. And then he was gone, leaving me with the echo of his cologne and a heart already cracking. Back at the office Monday, it was business as usual, or so he pretended. Nods in hallways, clipped emails, the Voss briefings where his eyes never lingered. I threw myself into work, spreadsheets blurring into nights at O'Malley's. But the ghost of that night haunted me. Whispers started, rumors of layoffs, the merger teetering. Ethan grew sharper, bark worse than his bite, and I felt the weight of his gaze when he thought I wasn't looking. 2 weeks in, the axe fell. Not on me, but on Ramirez from accounting, a quiet guy who'd always comped me coffees. Ethan delivered the news himself, face a mask of regret that fooled no one. That night, I texted him, O'Malley's? Need to talk. No response. By Friday, desperation clawed at me. I showed up at the bar anyway, solo, staring at my reflection in the pint glass. Hazel eyes shadowed, stubble thicker than my resolve. That's when he walked in. Not stumbling this time, but deliberate, suit pristine. He spotted me immediately, jaw tightening. Kyle. We need to. Not here. He grabbed my arm, steering me out back, into that alley where the fight ignited. The glass shattered, my glass, hurled in fury at his denial. You think you can just erase it? Pretend it didn't happen. I have to, he roared back, voice breaking. You don't get it. The stakes, the scrutiny. One slip, and it's all gone. The firm, my reputation, everything I've built. And what about us? I yelled, stepping closer, the heat of him pulling me in despite the rage. That night wasn't nothing, Ethan. It was everything. His eyes searched mine, tormented. It was a mistake. Go home, Kyle. Forget it. But as he turned away, I saw the lie in the tremor of his shoulders. The guard was cracking again, and this time, I wasn't letting it rebuild without a fight. The alley reeked of garbage and regret, the distant wail of an ambulance cutting through the tension like a knife. Ethan leaned against the wall, chest heaving, his pristine white shirt now smeared with alley grime from where I'd shoved him. Not hard, but enough to jolt him out of his denial. You want the truth? He snarled, voice low and venomous. Fine. That night, it terrified me, waking up next to you, feeling alive, for the first time in years. But I'm not some wide-eyed kid chasing rainbows, Kyle. I'm Ethan fucking Hargrove, and men like me don't get happily ever afters. We get settlements and NDAs. I laughed, bitter and hollow, the sound bouncing off the bricks. Oh, spare me the self-pity TED talk. You're not the villain here. You're just scared shitless of your own heart. And you know what? So am I. But at least I'm not running. His fist clenched, knuckles white, and for a heartbeat, I thought he'd swing. Instead, he deflated, sliding down the wall until he sat on the damp pavement, head in hands. Jesus, Kyle, what do you want from me? A coming-out parade down Fifth Avenue? The board would crucify me. Hell, my own father, God rest his homophobic soul, would roll over in his grave. I sank beside him, close but not touching, the concrete biting into my palms. The fight drained out of me, leaving only the ache, the deep, bone-weary longing for the man I'd glimpsed that night. I don't want a parade. I want you to stop pretending. With me, at least. That merger bullshit? It's an excuse. Admit it. He lifted his head, eyes red-rimmed, the fortress crumbling under the weight of his own words. It's not just that. My ex she knew. Suspected, anyway. That's why she left. Said I was half a man, always holding back. And now you're in my head, Kyle. Every meeting, every goddamn email, I see your face. Hear your voice. It's ruining me. The admission hung between us, fragile as fog off the river. I reached out, tentative, my fingers brushing his knee. He didn't pull away. Then let it ruin you, I said softly. Better than this half-life you're clinging to. We sat there until the bar's back door creaked open, Mick poking his head out with a gruff, You two lovebirds done brawling? Cops are circling. Ethan stood first, offering me a hand up, strong, steady, the same one that had mapped my body weeks ago. We didn't speak as we walked back to the street, the city's pulse sinking with our uneven breaths. At the corner, he hailed a cab, but before climbing in, he turned. My place. 8 tomorrow. We'll talk. It wasn't a promise, but it was something. I watched the taillights swallow him, then trudged home to my loft, where the bed still smelled faintly of him from that one night. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with boardroom battles and barroom confessions. Saturday dawned gray and drizzly, the kind of weather that mirrored my mood, hopeful but braced for storm. I showed up at his building at 7:55, nerves jangling like loose change. The doorman buzzed me up without question. Apparently, I'd made an impression. Ethan answered in jeans and a faded Columbia tee. Casual, vulnerable, a far cry from the suit-armored exec. Coffee? He asked, stepping aside. The penthouse looked different in daylight. Less fortress, more hollow shell. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the choppy East River, rain streaking the glass like tears. We settled on the leather sectional, mugs steaming between us, the silence thick enough to choke on. I owe you an apology, he started, staring into his black coffee. For Friday. For everything. I'm not good at this, at any of it. Feelings, vulnerability. It's like speaking a language I forgot. I nodded, sipping the bitter brew to steady myself. Start with the truth. Are you out to anyone? He shook his head, slow. No, not really. College flings, buried deep. Then the marriage, a shield, I thought. Kept the questions at bay. After the divorce, I told myself I'd figure it out. But the firm, it's everything. And now you. Me. I echoed, a smile tugging despite the gravity. Hazard pay for emotional labor? That earned a chuckle, genuine and warm. Something like that. He set his mug down, leaning forward, elbows on knees. That night at O'Malley's. It wasn't the whiskey. It was you. Pushing past the walls without even trying. I haven't felt seen like that since. Ever. My throat tightened. Then why push back so hard? Fear, he admitted, voice raw. Of losing control. Of dragging you into my mess. You're young, talented. Voss is your ticket up. I can't be the reason it crashes. I reached across the space, lacing my fingers with his. We make the rules, Ethan. Not the board, not the merger. If we want this, us, we fight for it. He pulled me closer then, the kiss starting soft, exploratory, building to something fierce and affirming. We tumbled back onto the couch, hands rediscovering paths, breaths mingling in the rain-lashed light. It was slower this time, deliberate, less desperation, more devotion. Afterward, tangled in throw blankets, he traced lazy circles on my chest. What now? Now? We take it day by day. Discreet at work. Real here. It felt like a pact, sealed in sweat and whispers. The next weeks blurred into a secret rhythm. Stolen glances in elevators, late-night texts laced with innuendo, weekends holed up in his penthouse cooking takeout Thai and binging old Scorsese films. He opened up in layers. The tattoos coordinates marking a Maine shore where his grandfather taught him to fish, the panic attacks that hit after the divorce filing. I shared my own scars. Coming out to a Catholic family in Queens that fractured like cheap china, the ex-boyfriend who'd OD'd on bad decisions and bad coke, leaving me to clean up the shards. Work was trickier. The merger talks heated up, Voss execs flying in from Seattle, Ethan's temper fraying at the edges. I threw myself into the numbers, pulling all-nighters that left me hollow-eyed but indispensable. One evening, as we pored over projections in his corner office, door locked, blinds drawn, he pulled me onto his lap mid-sentence, kissing me senseless. "You're brilliant, you know that," he murmured against my neck. "Don't let this place grind it out of you." But the grind came anyway. Whispers grew. A rival firm poaching talent, leaks about Ethan's distractions. I dismissed them as office paranoia, but doubt crept in like fog. Then, the betrayal hit, not with a bang, but a quiet email at 2 a.m. "Kyle, reassigning you to the Peterson team. Conflict of interest on Voss. Effective immediately." I stared at the screen, gut twisting. Conflict? Or cover? The next morning, I cornered him in the exec washroom, door barely latched. "What the hell, Ethan? Reassigned?" Without a word. His face was a mask again, eyes averted to the sink. "It's for the best. Keeps things clean." "Clean?" I hissed, voice echoing off tiles. "Or convenient. So you don't have to face this. Us, under the fluorescent lights." He straightened, jaw set. "Drop it, Kyle. This is business." But as he brushed past, I caught the flicker, guilt, raw and real. That night, alone in my loft, I poured a whiskey and scrolled his socials. Nothing but professional headshots and charity galas. No trace of the man who'd held me through nightmares. Rage boiled over. I drafted a dozen texts, deleted them all. By dawn, resolve hardened. If he wanted clean, I'd give him scorched earth. Monday, I walked into the board meeting with the Voss revised projections. Flawless, airtight, my name stamped bold on the cover. Heads turned as I laid it out, voices murmuring approval. Ethan's gaze met mine across the table, pride warring with something darker, fear. When it wrapped, he pulled me aside in the hallway, voice urgent. "That was incredible. But the reassignment." "Screw the reassignment." I cut in, low and fierce. "You don't get to bench me because you're scared. Either fight for us, or let me go. For real." He opened his mouth, closed it. Then, a nod, small, but seismic. "Dinner. Tonight. We'll figure it out." Hope flickered, fragile. But as I left, a shadow lingered. His assistant, lingering too long by the copier, eyes sharp with secrets. The restaurant was his pick. La Petite Étoile, a French bistro tucked in the West Village. All candlelight and velvet booths that whispered discretion. I arrived early, nerves a live wire under my skin, smoothing the collar of the button-down I'd ironed twice. Navy, fitted, the one he'd once called dangerously distracting. Ethan slid in across from me 10 minutes late, apology in his smile, but strain in his posture. "Traffic," he lied smoothly, but I knew better. Merger calls ran long. Egos clashed like cymbals. We ordered escargot and duck confit, wine flowing red and robust, conversations skirting the edges of the abyss. He asked about my family, mom still hawking knockoff handbags at the Canal Street markets, little sister Mia acing her pre-med at Fordham. I probed gently about his folks. Dad the steel mill magnate who died bitter, mom retreated to Florida with gin and grandchildren that never came. Laughter bubbled up, real and rare, but undercurrents pulled. His phone buzzing twice, silenced with a flick. Halfway through creme brulee, he cracked. "The leaks. It's internal. Someone's feeding Voss intel. If it blows, heads roll, mine included." My fork paused midair. "And the reassignment? Part of the cleanup?" He sighed, rubbing his temple. "Partly. And, yeah, protecting you. If we're linked." "We're not linked like some scandal sheet headline." I snapped, sharper than intended. Heads turned from the next booth. I lowered my voice. "We're two guys trying to make this work. Or are we?" His hand found mine under the table, thumb stroking my knuckles, a lifeline. "We are." "God, Kyle, I want to. But it's a minefield." "Then let's defuse it together." I squeezed back, resolve stealing. "Tell me everything. Who's the leak?" He hesitated, gaze darting. "Suspect it's Harlan, VP of Ops. Ambitious prick, owes me for covering his ass on the '08 crash. We plotted over coffee, monitor emails, cross-check access logs. It felt like partnership, not just pillow talk. Equal, electric. Walking back to his place, arms brushing in the chill autumn air, September had snuck in, leaves turning gold. He pulled me into a shadowed doorway off Bleecker. The kiss was fire, deep, devouring, his hands framing my face like I was porcelain. Come up, he breathed. Stay. I did. That night unfolded like poetry. Slow undress by the fireplace. Gas. But who cared? Bodies aligning in the king bed with the river view. He was tender, reverent, kissing the freckles across my shoulders, murmuring praises in the dark. You're my anchor, he confessed, as we lay spent, fingers intertwined. I believed him then. The high lasted a week. Office thaw. He approved my ideas in meetings, a hand grazing my lower back in the break room. Subtle, deniable. Nights blurred into us. Cooking experiments. His risotto bombed hilariously. Long walks in Central Park where joggers blurred past like extras in our private film. He even met Mick at O'Malley's one low-key evening, charming the bartender with tales of Dublin pub crawls from his study abroad days. This one's a keeper, Mick grunted approvingly, sliding me a free pint. But crack spiderwebbed. Harlan's smug grins in the halls. Ethan's late nights at the gym that smelled of bourbon. I ignored the gnaw in my gut. Paranoia, I told myself. Until the Voss exec dinner. Black tie at the polo room. Crystal glasses clinking like ice and whiskey. I was there as arm candy. Junior lead, mingling with Seattle suits. Ethan shone, charisma dialed to 11, but his eyes sought mine across the room, a silent soon. Then, in the powder room line, I overheard Harlan slurring to a crony. Hargrove's got a soft spot, some pretty boy analyst. Bet that's the leverage. My blood iced. I slipped out, confronting Ethan by the coat check. Harlan knows. About us. He paled, glancing around. What? No. I heard him. Pretty boy analyst. That's me, Ethan. How? Denial flickered, then crumbled. I mentioned you. In passing. Bragging, maybe. He twisted it. Twisted? Where you slipped? Accusation hung heavy. We argued in hushed fury, the valet staring. He swore it was nothing, but doubt poisoned the air. That night, in his bed, the lovemaking felt obligatory, mechanical, shadowed by suspicion. The leak exploded Wednesday. Voss pulled out, citing compromised trust. Chaos reigned. Emergency board call, fingers pointing like pistols. Ethan emerged bloodied but unbowed. Harlan scapegoated and ousted. Victory tasted bitter. In the aftermath, alone in his office, he pulled me into an embrace, fierce, needy. It's over. We can breathe now. But I pulled back. Can we? Or is this just another merger? Temporary, till the next deal? Hurt flashed in his eyes. What do you want, Kyle? A ring? A picket fence in the suburbs? I want trust, I shot back. Not secrets. He stormed out, leaving me with the ghosts of ledgers. Days stretched taut, radio silence, my texts unread. Desperation drove me to his penthouse Friday night. He'd slipped me weeks ago, for emergencies. Inside, disarray, files strewn, half-empty scotch on the counter. Voices from the bedroom, low, intimate. Heart hammering, I crept closer. There he was, Ethan, shirtless, locked in an embrace with Harlan. Not the ousted VP. No, Harlan's replacement, a slick consultant named Derek with a jawline sharper than his suits. Their kiss broke as I burst in, rage eclipsing shock. You son of a bitch. Ethan whirled, face ashen. Kyle, wait. Derek smirked, adjusting his tie. Interrupting something, sweetheart? Get out. Ethan growled at him, then to me. It's not what it looks like. I laughed, manic. Save it. I knew it. Another fortress, another mask. He reached for me, desperate. He's a plant. Undercover, to flush the real leak. It's strategy. Liar. The word cracked like the alley glass. I hurled the key at his chest, bolting into the night. Rain lashed me, blurring tears with drops, the city a smear of indifferent lights. Back in my loft, I curled fetal, sobs racking. Betrayal a blade twisting deep. Saturday blurred into numbness. Calls ignored, bed unmade. Mia texted from Fordham. Spill, bro. You sound wrecked. I confessed fragments. Her replies a bomb of sisterly fury. By evening, resolve stirred. No more chasing shadows. I drafted my resignation, polished, professional, emailing it at midnight. Effective EOW. Grateful for opportunities. Kyle. Monday, the office buzzed. Ethan's triumph over Voss. Promotions floated. He cornered me in the stairwell, eyes haunted. Talk to me, please. Nothing left to say. I sidestepped, chin high. You taught me well, boss. Cut losses, move on. His hand caught my wrist, grip iron. I love you, Kyle. That night, it changed everything. Derek was a ruse, I swear. Harlan's ghosting the firm. It was to bait him. I yanked free, throat burning. Love? You don't know the word. You hoard it like stock options. He recoiled, shattered. Don't do this. We can fix. Goodbye, Ethan. The door clanged shut, sealing the echo. Freedom tasted like ash. Job hunting kicked off. Interviews at boutique firms in Brooklyn, feelers to old NYU profs. Nights at O'Malley's, Mick pouring doubles with pitying nods. Heart breaks a bastard, he rumbled. But it forges steel. 2 weeks in, the call came. Sterling Gala, black tie fundraiser for some queer youth org. Ironic, given the source. Ethan's assistant, voice neutral. Mr. Hargrove requests your presence. I almost hung up. Instead, tell him no. But curiosity, or masochism, won. I went, rented tuck sharp as a switchblade, hairstyle defiant. The ballroom at the plaza glittered, chandeliers dripping light, donors in sequins and Rolexes. Ethan spotted me across the crowd, tuxedoed perfection, but his smile faltered, raw need beneath polish. He approached during cocktails, flute in hand. You came. Curious, I said coolly. Heard you saved the firm. Congrats. Pyrrhic, he murmured, close enough for cologne to tease. Without you, it's hollow. Dance floor called, strings swelled. One dance, he pleaded. Against better judgment, I yielded. In his arms, waltzing amid whispers, the world softened. I was wrong, he whispered, breath hot on my ear. Scared, stupid. But I'm out now, told the board, my sister. All of it. I pulled back, searching his face. Truth shone there, unguarded. Why now? Because losing you. It's the real merger failure. The one I can't recover from. Tears pricked, I blinked them back. Prove it. The night ended in his penthouse. Not for sex, but reckoning. Words poured. His therapy sessions started post-betrayal, the leak traced to Harlan's greed. Derek? A one-off ploy, regretted instantly. Dawn found us on the balcony, coffee steaming, city awakening below. Start over? He asked, vulnerable. Slow. I cautioned, lacing fingers. Real. He nodded, sealing with a kiss, gentle, promising. Months folded like origami. Tentative dates morphing into routines. Ethan's penthouse accruing my touches. Toothbrush in the holder, dog-eared Kerouac on the nightstand. Work? I stayed at Sterling, demoted in title but elevated in trust. Co-lead on the revamped Voss relaunch. Ethan's right-hand sans secrecy. The office adapted, slowly, raised eyebrows fading to nods. Harlan's vacant desk a reminder of hubris's cost. We kept it professional, mostly, though elevator rides sparked with loaded glances, promises for later. Fall deepened into winter, Manhattan's bite sharpening the intimacy. Central Park skates, me on my ass, him steadying with laughter lines crinkling his eyes. Holiday lights strung like hope across Washington Square, where he proposed, not with fanfare, but a simple silver band slipped over gloved knuckles. Partners, he said, no knee, just knees knocking in the cold. In boardrooms and bedrooms. I said yes, tears freezing on lashes. Mia squealed via FaceTime. Mom crossed herself, but warmed with empanadas shipped from Queens. His sister, Claire, visiting from Boston, grilled me over dim sum, approving with a hug. He needs your fire, Kyle. Challenges lingered, human as breath. A Voss sex sideways glance at the holiday party sparked Ethan's old armor. I called him on it over eggnog, words cutting but kind. We're in this, walls and all. He softened, therapy notes shared like love letters. Progress on the panic, reclaiming the boy who dreamed of Broadway before balance sheets. Spring bloomed tentative, cherry blossoms dusting the high line. Our first public handhold at a pride rally. Rainbow flags whipping like freedom. Mick toasted us at O'Malley's, the bar's crowd erupting in cheers that drowned the jukebox. To the bosses who break right, he boomed, and Ethan, my Ethan, laughed, pulling me close. But humanity's arc bends toward light through shadow. June brought the diagnosis. Early-stage lymphoma. Caught in a routine checkup Ethan had blown off for months. Routine my ass, he joked weakly in the oncologist's sterile office, hand crushing mine. Rage hit first, why him? The man who'd conquered markets, now felled by cells gone rogue. Then resolve, treatment scheduled, work handed off seamlessly. I became his shadow, infusions where I'd read aloud from on the road, nights cradling him through nausea, whispering, "You're my thunder road, remember?" He fought like hell. Chemo cycles that hollowed his cheeks, but not his spirit, wigs abandoned for buzzed scalp that I kissed daily. Claire flew in. Mom sent care packages of pozole that filled the penthouse with spice and solace. In quiet moments, vulnerability peaked. "If I don't make it," he'd start, voice cracking. "You will," I'd interrupt, fierce. "And even if we had this, us." Remission whispered in August, scans clean as fresh spreadsheets. Celebration was low-key, rooftop barbecue with Mick, Mia, Claire, grills smoking, laughter echoing off the skyline. Ethan, hatchet-faced but beaming, raised a glass. To guards broken and rebuilt stronger. We danced under stars, actual ones, peeking through light pollution, his head on my shoulder, heartbeat steady against mine. "Love you, Cal Rivera. My analyst, my anchor, my everything." "Love you back, Ethan Hargrove. Boss of my days, breaker of my nights." Years unfurled, promotions shared, a brownstone bought in Brooklyn, cozy, chaotic with books and plants that thrived under Mia's visits. Pride evolved to allyship, Sterling's first queer mentorship program, Ethan's keynote at HRC Gala drawing tears and thunderous applause. Betrayals? Faded scars, lessons in trust, fragility, and steel. One autumn eve, a decade on, we revisited O'Malley's, remodeled but soul intact. Mick retired, but his nephew pouring with the same gruff charm. The jukebox spun, Thunder Road, and Ethan pulled me to the alley, not for fights, but memories. "That glass I broke," he mused, arm around my waist. "Shattered everything good." I turned, kissing him slow. "Or started it. You, me, messy, real hours." He smiled, that boyish one, guards long demolished. In the city's endless hum, we were just two men, loving loud against the odds. An American story, dramatic and tender, human to the core. And in that, we found our ever after, not flawless, but fiercely ours.